I'm Dana Stigdon, serving in the Dominican Republic. You're listening to the Lutheran Ladies Lounge from KFUO Radio.
Listening to the Lutheran Ladies Lounge podcast. I'm Sarah.
I'm Erin.
And I'm Rachel.
We have International Mission 101. I feel like we needed like a special little jingle for this because this is a fun series.
Yeah.
We're learning so much and you're presenting some just very exciting stories. And the last time we had missionaries at LWML.
Yes.
Which was excellent. Today, we have another additional person.
Special guest.
Another special guest.
Yeah.
Super fun. What's happening today, Erin?
So today, we are going to talk about missionary recruitment.
Okay.
Get a lot of questions about this, and in order to really have a good conversation on this and not just a super high level, be able to dig into it a bit, I decided I should invite my colleague, Anne Gonzalez, to join us. So DCE Anne Gonzalez is the manager of lay missionary recruitment.
As of April 1st.
Hey.
As of April 1st. Yes.
Congratulations to you and congratulations to the synod who now gets you in this role.
Yeah. And so, we get a lot of questions about this all the time. And since our particular, we're looking at international mission in general, we are also always especially interested in how Lutheran ladies live their lives as Lutheran ladies. I figured because of that, let's talk about how Lutheran ladies can serve as missionaries, which means I wanted to include Anne particular. There's a number of people in the recruitment unit, but I thought Anne would be the best one to talk with us.
It's great to be here.
No pressure, Anne.
Yeah.
This isn't your first rodeo on a podcast, though. So
No, but it is my first time on the lounge.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's very exciting.
Welcome to this side of KFUO Radio.
Yeah. So, Anne, why don't you start by giving us like your usual spiel that you would give to someone like when you're first meeting them and you're like, here's why I want to talk with you. How do you explain your job?
Yeah.
What does it look like?
LCMS International Mission spreads the gospel, plants Lutheran churches, and shows mercy.
Yeah,
around
remember
the
we
world.
talked about that.
We did.
Yeah.
That was
Yes.
one of our early chapters of this. Okay, keep going.
And the heart of that is planting Lutheran churches so that long-term people in that place have access to word and sacraments. But to plant a church, you need a team. Yes, you need pastors, but also you need people around them to support them and business people to make sure that any property you buy is, properly titled and
Legal.
Yes.
Legal property is a good thing.
If you want to add capacity by bringing in volunteers, you need a volunteer coordinator. So there are a lot of different roles on the mission field, and almost anybody can join us in that mission.
Awesome. So, okay, why don't you start by telling us, what does the missionary recruitment process look like? What goes into it? How does that play out?
So those of us on the recruitment team, get in touch with LCMS folks from all over. Sometimes they reach out to us and they're like, hello, I have wanted to always be a missionary. That's probably actually the more rare scenario. But if you're listening and that's you, I would love to hear from you.
Link in show notes.
Yeah. But typically we get connected with someone somehow. That could be through a visit to a campus. It could be like at LWML. We came back with 7 pages of contacts.
What? 7 pages?
Thank you, Johanna Stinnett.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It could be, one of our missionaries knows somebody that they introduce us to. So somehow we get connected with someone that either they think would like to be a missionary or someone else thinks like, hey, this person would make a great missionary. So usually there's some preliminary conversations about mission work. What would it look like? Are you qualified? Is this a good time in your life? And ask people to prayerfully consider and then put in their application if they feel led to do so. Once we have their application, there are a number of steps. And what we're looking for is, are you a good fit for international service? Do we have a role that fits your skill set? And are you a good fit with the LCMS? Which sounds kind of funny, but the number of applications we get from non-LCMS people might surprise you.
Interesting.
Yes.
And is being part of the LCMS one of the requirements?
Correct.
Okay.
There have been occasional exceptions for Lutheran Church Canada members, but that is a more complicated process. But yes, in general, we are the sending arm of the LCMS, and so therefore we send LCMS people. Now, we do still work with other church bodies, and in fact, a number of church bodies, most notably the Brazilian Lutheran Church, send what they call alliance missionaries to serve alongside our missionaries. But that is an entirely, like, they manage that because those are their people. And we work with them on that, but they don't apply directly to us. So once we have somebody's application, like I said, there's a number of steps. There's an interview, background check. We check references. Typically, we have people come in here into the office in St. Louis. And that's like, we're interviewing them, but also they're interviewing us. And it's a good opportunity for them to meet some of the team that will be behind them and supporting them as they go out to serve. And then the final stop in becoming a missionary is the Board for International Mission. They meet 4 times a year, and they are the only ones that are empowered by our synod to extend calls and appointments to new missionaries. So they get a whole packet of information about each candidate, and they make the decision. And then we let our candidates know, like, hey, we've extended you a call or an appointment, and please prayerfully consider. And then once they accept, now they're moving into employment and orientation and all that.
And that's the part that we get to see very visibly here when there's new classes of missionaries.
The fruit of all your labor, finally.
Those orientation weeks. They're fun for I enjoy them because I get to see the missionaries, but I know there's a lot of work.
There is a ton of work involved in those, but that is not part of my job.
Right, yeah.
That's true.
Stay tuned.
There's another unit that's involved in that one.
That's true.
Although, so it's funny because I was actually explaining the recruitment process to one of our mission advocates earlier today, and she was kind of like, well, it seems like it would, slow down the process that there's only 4 times a year. And I was like, well, kind of, but also it gives you critical mass, right?
Yeah.
So you're not just orienting people one at a time. You have a group that comes at the same time. They get to know each other. They may or may not be serving in the same region, but they have the opportunity to build those bonds and support each other as new missionaries going out.
Yeah.
They're in cohorts.
Exactly. And it's actually kind of cool because a lot of times you end up connecting with missionaries who are going to serve in other regions.
Yeah.
And so like you'll end up with like the people that you're probably closest with are going to be the ones that are in your field, but then in your region. But at orientation, you can potentially meet and form some lifelong friendships with people who are going to serve in completely other regions. It is a cool,
that's really
cool opportunity to make those connections. So it's nice when we have a class that is big enough to support that.
Yeah.
Fun fact. I went to missionary orientation in 2001 with Reverend Ted Cray. Regional Director of Latin America.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
He has stayed on the field since. I did my 2.5 years of internship in Taiwan, and then I came back to the U.S.
Yeah.
I did my DCE internship in Taiwan, and then served in a parish setting, and then I've been here at the LCMS for about the last 8 years. Most of that time, Erin was my boss.
That is true. In April, we mixed things up.
We did.
So, yeah. So you mentioned fit for international service. What does that mean? How do you know someone's a fit for international service?
I was going to ask the same question because you said early on in the first process, you check to see if you're qualified. What qualifications, what fitness, what would determine whether somebody who was interested in missions actually should be a missionary? How do you decide that?
Yeah.
Sure. Well, it's a discernment process, and it's a discernment process on both sides, right? So like we're discerning, but we're also inviting the candidate to discern throughout the application process. So some things that might indicate that someone isn't ready to serve internationally is they believe they are unable to learn another language.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. If they have children who are in middle school or high school, that's not a no-go, but it is a proceed with caution because the research shows that is the most likely time that transition is not going to go well for the family.
Oh. Yeah.
Which unfortunately usually leads to early repatriation.
Interesting.
Yeah. So we really
I believe that.
Think about the whole family and how that transition is going to go.
Huh.
There can be health concerns. Now, actually, usually I get more people who think they're not qualified because of health concerns who are reassured to know that we have a process in place to evaluate that. I don't do it. I don't need your personal health information. We have a third-party company that is a global expert in these sorts of issues. And so as candidates go through the process, they're asked to speak with their doctor about the possibility of international service and let us know if there are any health concerns that should be considered in the placement process. And if they say yes, there is, then we connect them with this organization and evaluate where can we place them that would be a good fit, or can we find a good fit for placement right now. So for instance, if somebody is deathly allergic to seafood, probably an island nation is not the right fit for them. But that does not mean they can't be a missionary, right? Like it just means we have to be careful about where we're placing them.
A landlocked country would be great.
Right. A place where they eat lots of pierogi or something.
Yep.
And then one of the kind of the big pieces that we use to evaluate that is also an outside company that they do a formal assessment with a counselor. And so this is what they do, like their whole business. So we really trust their judgment. They do it for like expatriates that their companies are sending them to work abroad. It's not just religious organizations. And so they have a whole set of criteria to look at in terms of, is this a good fit right now?
You focus with lay missionaries, which is what all of us are or would be if we were interested in becoming missionaries.
Correct. Well, right now, Sarah's working on that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Give me a few years.
At the moment, this is our category.
Yep.
And so my question is, what roles are you usually most often looking to fill that lay women could fill? And what are the qualifications that you're looking for those specific kinds of jobs? Presumably, if I'm an expert in flower arranging, that might not be a mission role that you need to fill right away.
Correct. However, your background in flower arranging probably makes you good at arranging other things.
True. Okay, so explain this a little bit for me.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you say ran your own flower arrangement business, you clearly have some business skills. You know how to organize things. You know how to get things done, right? And so some of those skills could translate to something like volunteer coordination.
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, before I came on the team, they had kind of narrowed down the general categories of roles to 8. 3 of them do require some kind of church work degree. Church planner and theological educators need to be pastors, and then deaconess needs to be a deaconess.
Yep.
Which means there are 5 roles that could be filled by a layperson. And these are broad roles. These are broad categories. So business managers. As I mentioned, you got to do things legally. And that's not even just like a compliance thing, right? Like if you take shortcuts at the beginning of a planting of a church, like it can cause real conflict down the road, or potentially litigation, loss of property. Like just, it's going to be bad for the overall ongoing work of the church. Our missionaries need to get paid.
Yeah.
right? Like
That is important.
Mhm.
yeah. And so business managers, business administrators, those are great opportunities for Lutheran ladies or any Lutheran layperson to serve. I'm, in fact, working with a young woman right now who is graduating with her accounting degree next year and is applying for a business administrator role.
Hey.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds perfect.
Communication specialists, these are the folks that help gather the stories from a region and tell them, share them with the church at large. They might also help with communication for things like foros, the twice a year gatherings of partners to talk about the work and learn more and work on direction for the next 6 months. Ironically, I also have a young woman in process for that.
Hey.
So, yeah. Volunteer coordinator, I already mentioned. These would be the folks that are on the receiving side of volunteers. So Erin, as you know, works with short-term teams. She and Erin are on this side of the ocean.
You're the sending side.
They are the sending side, and the volunteer coordinators are the receiving side. So they do a lot of things behind the scenes to make sure that they are well prepared to receive those folks. Most particularly, or at least in my opinion, most importantly, that they develop opportunities for volunteers to serve where they are adding capacity to ongoing mission work in that place, right? So being strategic, figuring out how they can plug this group of 10 Americans in for a week or two in a way that actually advances planting of the Lutheran church in that place, whether that could be by helping to spread the gospel, providing logistical support for things the church is doing, all sorts of ways. But it's really their job to work with their partners and figure that out. Teachers or educators, so sometimes that is classroom roles, but sometimes it's more like community-based education. So we have some requests for English teachers, but they're like more in a community setting where they're doing outreach and things like that. You do not have to be a Lutheran certified educator to be a teacher. Now, some roles might require that, but not all of them. I've talked with some folks recently who were quite surprised to discover that, no, that wasn't a hard and fast requirement.
Oh.
And then last but not least is project manager. And honestly, I find this one the hardest to kind of describe because it's a big house. So, because what people traditionally think of with project manager is like, I don't know, like you're going to build something, or like we have mission projects in Africa and we have a guy who manages those projects in cooperation with the local church. But in other cases, the project manager works in an area of expertise that they have. So that could be they have expertise in technology or IT, and that is actually their project. So yeah, there's a request for a project manager in Asia with a focus on safety and security. So yeah.
Okay. So, but every time we talk about missionary recruitment, like on the coffee hour, it always comes up that people sometimes I think discount themselves before they even get to the recruitment process. So they're like, I have skills, but like, I'm sure you know, but like, you don't need me. Like, I don't have quote like church skills or something.
I didn't go to a Concordia.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So like, that project manager one is great. I mean, it kind of functions like kind of as a catch-all-ish.
Kind of.
But like, what are kind of some of the broad skills or ranges of things that you've seen that work really well on the mission field? Things that people might not think of as a missionary position that are actually really important for mission work on the field.
Sure. So, for example, Erin McKenzie, who's our regional volunteer coordinator,
I know her.
Latin America and the Caribbean, she majored in Spanish.
Yeah.
So, like, you don't have to know a language to become a missionary, but if you already have that, it's certainly an advantage. Mm-hmm. Basically, like a lot of these, anything that prepares you to be organized and kind of see a project or an activity through to the end will be well prepared. Mm-hmm. And I'm honestly surprised sometimes by some of the backgrounds that people come out of. So,
like what?
Well, we just recruited a new business manager for Eurasia. Unfortunately, not a Lutheran lady, but
that's all right.
His undergrad is in like ceramic engineering or something.
Whoa.
But then he wound up in kind of just like a business operations change management kind of role. And honestly, when I get folks that I'm thinking about for business managers, we have a business operations team here in the building, and I send John Tape the resume and say, please tell me whether this person is qualified because I'm a DCE.
My skill set.
Yes, I did not study this. Like sometimes it's really obvious if they're a CPA or if they're got a finance major or whatever, like that's the easy ones. But sometimes life experience or work experience leads us to say, well, yeah, actually that could work.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I've read some of those stories or heard some of the stories when people are back here on Reconnect. It's like, this path makes total sense now that you're on the mission field. Everything connects.
Yeah.
But yeah, also some of our other volunteer coordinators have come out of early childhood education, social work, psychology. You know, so like volunteer coordinators, what I always just say is, you gotta like details and people. And beyond that, it really doesn't matter what degree you have, as long as you have one.
Yeah.
Because that is a requirement in most cases. There are some times where we can take significant work experience in lieu of a bachelor's degree, but most times in most places, you do need to have a bachelor's degree in order to serve as a missionary. And sometimes that's not even us. Sometimes that's a like visa requirement to live in the
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. So stick it out, college students. Get those bachelor degrees.
Exactly.
Saying the mother of college students.
Which actually, that leads me to another misconception that I get all the time.
Oh.
Being a full-time missionary is a job. You get paid. There are benefits. There are student loan repayment benefits. Because frequently this particularly happens when somebody has been referred from, like they served as a volunteer and their host said, hey, I think so-and-so would make a great missionary. You should talk to them. And I will write to the person and they will write back and say, oh, but I can't afford to do that full time. Probably because they just volunteered and paid all their own expenses to go and serve. And so this is a place where the church at large invests in our missionaries so that they can go and serve well in whatever place God has called them to.
And I think missionary support is another topic you're going to cover at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
It's important.
Yeah.
You got good people doing that stuff.
Yeah. No, we will definitely get into that. But we'll save that one for a future
That's also
session.
not your skill set, is it? Or not your area.
No, but I do have to explain a lot.
That's
You do get paid.
Exactly. Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
What are are there other misconceptions that you find yourself running into with regularity?
Did we cover only pastors already?
Oh.
So when I first told that my own DCE, so like I've worked here in International Mission for like 7.5 years, and I tell my DCE that I am taking on this new role in missionary recruitment, like the first words out of his mouth were, I thought they only wanted pastors as missionaries.
No.
And no, that is not the case. So we do, yes, need pastors. And my colleague would love to talk to you if you are a pastor and would like to be a missionary. But it's not limited to pastors. So about half of our missionaries are pastors. And then another quarter are some other kind of rostered church worker. And then the last quarter are lay people. Now, the commission ministers and the lay people, like that's kind of fluid. Most of those positions don't require one or the other. It's just who applied and who's a good fit for those roles.
Yeah, gotcha. All right. So if you heard nothing else from this episode, hear this. You do not have to be a pastor to be a missionary.
Correct.
All right. Roll credits. Never mind. No, we keep going. We got you here.
In fact, we are actively recruiting for 2 business managers right now. So
Okay.
as well as some like the regional business manager roles. And then there are some other supporting business roles.
Yeah.
So if you are in business, if you know someone and would like to serve our Lord, please.
I mean, you're actively recruiting for
that's true.
Beyond that, but
That's
those
true.
are sort of at the top priority.
High priority right now.
Of
Yes, that's fair.
major focus emphasis on that. Speaking of focus emphasis, how do you decide what positions you should be recruiting for? Like how are those identified? Is that something that you guys are involved in saying, hey, why don't you think about this? Or who picks those? Who makes that decision?
So it's more in the hands of the regional directors. So they are the ones that oversee each of the regions. And so they set strategy and goals, and therefore, who do we need to accomplish those goals? Now, right this minute, my boss, Reverend Dr. Mark Raby, is in Argentina with all of the regional directors for the regional operations meetings. So they do have those face-to-face opportunities to like chat about, have you considered this or whatever. But yeah, primarily it's field driven. Just like what I talked about with volunteers, we want to meet their needs for what they see as their ministry goals. And so we're not generally dictating to them. Now, there are certain key things that we try to have in every region, like a business manager and a communications specialist and a volunteer coordinator. But some of the other pieces are fluid and based on what ministry is happening there at that time.
Mm-hmm. So if someone were to call you up, how much say would they have in what they do and where they go? Could they be like, hey, I'm an English major. I really want to be involved in communications in some way. And could you possibly send me to Jamaica? Because I've always wanted to go there.
Right. So the answer in that case is no.
Missionaries. No, I can't be a missionary to Jamaica.
That's not where we're going to place the communications person for Latin America, is what I'm saying.
There's puzzle pieces to this.
There are puzzle pieces. In fact, I describe it kind of like a Venn diagram. It's the place where your gifts and talents and interests overlap with our current opportunities, right? So, and I think I alluded earlier, sometimes that's super clear. Like if I had a CPA and we apply and we only have one business manager position open, that's probably where I'm going to try to slot them.
Yeah.
Other times it is a little bit more of a kind of negotiation. And I talk with them about, do you already speak any languages? Or do you have any strong feelings about where in the world you'd like to serve? That's not a guarantee, but yeah. And so when possible, we do take those into account, but ultimately we're looking for the best fit because we want people to be long-term successful, serving our Lord in that place so that more people can hear about Jesus. And becoming a missionary takes time. It takes time to learn a language, it takes time to, pick up and move overseas. And so we don't want to cut that short because of a mismatch of some way.
Okay, so you said you don't put the communication specialist in Jamaica. What roles are placed in what areas? Does that make sense?
Sure.
Like where would business managers actually be placed? Where would communication specialists or theological educators, just out of curiosity?
Sure. So it depends.
Where the hubs?
Well, so each region has a regional office. And so a lot of the regional staff usually is based out of there. Sometimes there are exceptions, especially like if in Asia, Amy Sima is the missionary care person, but she is married to a pastor who does work in Cambodia. So, of course, she is based in Cambodia and not in Taiwan like the rest of the regional team.
Makes sense.
So if you're a part of the regional team, you're most likely going to Santiago, Dominican Republic, Brasov, Romania, Nairobi, Kenya, or Chiayi, Taiwan.
Okay.
But other roles are not regionally based. And so it's just going to depend on which team we're building out as to where you'd be serving. So I mentioned earlier the request for an English teacher. The one I have right now is for Panama. Be a part of the Panama team.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So there are hubs you could be sent to depending on your role, but really sky's the limit where the needs are.
Correct.
If you're willing to go.
Correct. As long as we work in that place.
Right.
Right. That's true.
The sky with boundaries.
Yes. Well, I mean, I mentioned all the business stuff, right? Like the process of setting up new work in a new country can be somewhat complex. And again,
we don't have any mission teams in Yemen right now.
We do not.
Sorry, Rachel.
However, we do have missionaries in Germany working with refugees from Middle East, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran. So sometimes the Lord leads them to other places where we get to work with them.
Sure. Yes.
So how you talk with an individual, how does it work with couples? How does it work with families? You mentioned that, families with middle school and high school age students, that's maybe a bigger challenge, but how do those kind of people fit into the recruitment process?
Sure. Well, first of all, we don't separate families. So
Good.
yes.
Thank you.
But unfortunately, I have to say that with more regularity than I expected.
Yeah. It's a good reassurance.
My husband said I can just go off and do whatever I want. No, that's not how this works. I'm sorry.
That's hard now.
And so, yes. So if they're married, if someone's married, we would actually collect an application from both spouses. And sometimes that leads to dual calls or dual appointments where they each have an official role on the mission team, like the SEMAs that I mentioned earlier. But sometimes the other person goes as an accompanying spouse. Typically that's the wife, but we have had some accompanying husbands. And so they are there, they still receive our support, but they are not employed by us. So when we do like in-person interviews, we bring both members of the couple in for that in-person. At this time, we have not brought their children in, but children do come for orientation. And we give them some specialized orientation to their new role as missionary kids.
Yeah.
And so we do also consider that in the placement process. You know, do they have kids? What do they want to do for schooling their kids? Is that available in the place that we're proposing to send them? Because not every type of schooling is a fit in every place. So if you want to homeschool your kids, there are actually countries where that's illegal.
That would be a problem for some people.
Or if you want to send your kids to an international school, those aren't available everywhere, right? So my colleague Ellie Coro always says missionary care starts in recruitment. And so we've actually been working on building those bridges between us and missionary services so that we know what we should be looking for and passing that information along so that if we've had conversations about, say, children's schooling, they're then aware of that in that process.
Yeah, that's huge. I remember when I was a missionary kid back in the 80s, it was normal for parents to send their kids to boarding school because what were the options?
Right.
And at the time, I was really glad I wasn't old enough that had to be my story because that was terrifying to me.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you all think about those things.
No, I actually have a friend who is a missionary kid and he went to boarding school and is now a father and is like, if I propose to send my children to boarding school, their grandparents would lose their minds, even though that was the choice they made. And so, I mean, don't get me wrong, that is still an option.
It is an option, but for
preferred option generally.
Yes, but to be thinking through those questions early on in recruitment, how are you going to handle this? What's available? Can we try to make sure that you can do the job, that you can serve the Lord, serve the church, serve the world, but at the same time that your family won't needlessly suffer?
Right. Because there's already enough inherent challenges in moving abroad.
Yeah.
Significantly more stressors than just sort of normal family life. So let's not needlessly add to them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
St. Paul High School, Concordia, Missouri.
Correct.
I mean, seems to be the option for high school for some families, but that school has a lot of international flavor to it anyway. Yeah. So
a question for you. We've been talking about how many more people than think they can be missionaries.
Correct.
Are there what you would consider disqualifiers or maybe red flags in the recruitment process that you would look at somebody and go, not sure this is for you?
Right.
Like what are the things that would give you pause and that should give other people pause as they're considering and discerning this possibility for themselves?
Well, you need to be an LCMS church member in good standing.
Okay.
So the in good standing part, I emphasize because that's important. Like you could be a member of an LCMS church that you haven't been to in 3 years, and that's not really what we're looking for. The number one predictor of success as a missionary is involvement at your local church. So we look for that to see, are you engaged with your local church? For some roles, in some locations, I should say, being divorced is problematic. And that has to do with the local church's challenges around marriage and polygamy and things like that. That doesn't mean divorced people can never serve, but again, it is a placement question. If you are maybe doing things that are not in the Lord's will for us morally, that would be maybe now is not the time. But honestly, most things are not a never.
Right.
Most things are, if there is something, it's a not now.
Right.
There is a theological questionnaire and discussion, which depending on your role, we need different levels of theological skill. But we do need you to be able to talk about Lutheran doctrine and agree with it. You know, if you are running around saying, I don't think we should be baptizing infants,
That's a red flag.
that would be a problem because that's something that some of our partner churches struggle with, you know? So things like that.
So it's not just an office job in another country.
Correct.
You are a missionary.
Correct.
You are representing.
And even if mostly what you're doing is keeping the books, you are representing the Lutheran faith and Jesus.
Yeah.
Now, I know that our seminaries, they recommend that families get out of debt before they, or get as close to as they can to being out of debt before they, commit to seminary. Not in every case, but in many cases, it's a strong recommendation. Is that something that you also recommend, or is that something that you can work with?
That's a good question. It's actually not one I've really run into yet.
I stumped her.
So it's not a hard and fast recommendation, I guess I would say. So I did refer to, we do have some benefits to help you like repay student loans, things like that. But also it might depend on the nature of the debt. You know, if your debt is your mortgage and you're going to be selling your house, well,
there you go.
Okay. But I mean, certainly being out of debt is not a bad thing. It's a very good thing. It frees you in lots of ways, not just for international service, to serve the Lord in whatever way he calls. But as I said, it is a job. You do get paid. And so, there would be some capacity to pay down existing debt along the way.
Yeah. Okay, we checked the red flags. What about the green flags for like soft skills? Because you've mentioned several like interspersed with some of these things, but the theme I'm hearing is that yes, hard skills are good. Like having a hard skill to do business management is a good thing. You need to know how to do math.
Right.
But like a lot of these roles require a lot of just soft skills to be successful. What are some of those like soft skill green flags?
Well, if I email people and they email me back, like that's a huge green flag.
To be a missionary and emails you, email her back.
and don't get me wrong, I'm not like sitting here waiting for your email and like judging you.
Stopwatch going.
No. But if I feel like I'm always the one following up with you, it might sort of flag as like, oh, maybe they're not actually that interested.
Yeah.
So initiative and responsiveness. Got it.
Correct. Yes. Those are both great missionary skills.
Yeah.
Flexibility. What do you do when plans change? Because yes, we're going to place you in a role, and yes, we have a job for you to do. And also things change.
Yeah.
With surprising regularity. And because of the length of the process, right? So I mentioned.
Yeah. What is that? I was going to ask.
Yeah. It's, from application to board meeting, somewhere in the 3 to 6 months range. Some of that depends on when you enter the process, how quickly you do your stuff, and when the next board meeting is. But from the time of application to deployment to the field, that's typically 9 to 12 months. Typically, people spend 6 months doing network support building before deploying. And then when you deploy, now there's field orientation and language learning and all of that. So even if you wrote me today and said, I want to be a missionary, and all the green flags were there, it would be a year easily before you got to the field to do the work that you're doing, which honestly sounds really discouraging. I'm sorry. But it's important that people transition well and that they have the language skills and all of that. So yeah, it does take some time, but that time is important.
Yeah. Okay. What other green flags?
Oh, right. I was like, how did we get there?
We took a little side quest.
Side quests are great.
Side quests are great. But we're back to the main quest.
Main quest. Yeah. just being involved at your church, you know, being able to articulate, hey, these are the things that I've been involved in, and this is why they were meaningful to me. Being able to talk about your faith. Again, you don't have to be a theology professor, but being comfortable saying, Jesus is my savior. He died for me. And because of how much he has given for me, I want to help other people know that, right? At sort of a base level, you got to be willing to do that, because regardless of role, when you are a stranger in a place and people ask you, why are you here?
Yep.
Here's your opening to say, because Jesus.
Yeah.
Now, we do have that opportunity here in the U.S., but it's a lot more in your face when you are in a place where you don't speak the language well, or you don't look like the other people.
People typically don't walk up to me and ask, why are you here? So, yeah, that might be more fun though.
I mean, they might ask you, why are you here on Saturday?
Right.
I think you've probably gotten that question once or twice.
They weren't rare that they're also here on Saturday, though. So
That's true.
True.
Yeah.
That's true.
So you've mentioned that business managers are one of your key things that you're actively recruiting for, hunting for, doing cold calls for,
Stalking people on LinkedIn for.
Oh, yeah.
How, if someone is listening to this and they're like, I could do this, or like, how could they refer someone? Like, where could they go to learn more about this? I know we said there'd be stuff in the show notes, but just tell us a little bit more about where they could go to learn more.
Yeah. So on servenow.lcms.org, there are a number of the positions that are open listed. There's also a generic application for LCMS Missionary at lcms.org/careers. That's our jobs page. So those are both good places to go. Or you can email me at anne.gonzalez@lcms.org. Because really, as I mentioned, it's usually a conversation first, and then we move into the application process. Not against y'all just going to the website and applying. I would love that. But that's not typically people's path forward.
Yeah. So I'm going to jump in there and say, hey, if you're like, that's sort of interesting, and you're like, but I've never even thought of something international, let me throw out there that going on a short-term mission trip can be a great way to get a sense of, wow, I actually really love international life, or wow, I don't know yet. Maybe not, but especially the, wow, I actually like this way more than I ever thought I would. So that can be a great stepping stone. What about for other like college students, say, or high school students, for people that are thinking about it, what would be some things that they could do before they're actually eligible to even consider missionary service? What would be some things they could do to help prepare them, help give them a better sense of, this really is what I want to try and pursue, or I should use my gifts in other ways to serve the church?
Yeah. So there's a few things I would suggest. Well, one, short-term mission team. That's great. Although cross-cultural experience is not required to be a missionary. And it's also not correlated with long-term success.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go.
So number one, get involved at your church. Your pastor will love you when you walk up and say, how can I help?
Yes.
And let me say this to all the high schoolers in particular, that still means you. Our teenagers
DCE
have
Anne
so much to offer the church. And it's actually been really cool as I talk with college students, some of them whose pastors have really empowered them in high school. And there was one young woman I talked to who was like, when I decided I wanted to go to become a DCE, my pastor set up an internship for me my senior year of high school where I could learn about all the church ministries and stuff.
Wow.
Sorry, pastors, I'm giving you more to do.
Amazing.
But yes, get involved in your church, find some things that you're passionate about. You can also connect with other cultures in almost everywhere in the U.S. without leaving the U.S., right?
Yeah.
So getting to know your neighbors who are new Americans, visiting different restaurants and trying some different foods. One of my college professors always said, to be a missionary, you need to be able to speak the language and eat the food.
Yeah.
And he said, everybody knows that it's hard to learn a new language, but they also know that everybody eats. And so that is a way to,
So not being a picky eater is very helpful if you're
it's
considering
helpful.
mission work.
Yeah, it's helpful, but also that can be a learning and a growing experience.
It can be. That was actually a limiter for me when I was a kid. I had trouble with local cuisine.
Learned to use chopsticks before I moved to Taiwan. So that was an interesting transition. And I had never really tried other cuisine. Like my extent of Chinese food was like Panda Express. So learning about engaging with other cultures around you, praying for our missionaries, praying for your neighbors, asking God to show you opportunities where you can talk to others about Jesus. Reading. There are great books and podcasts and videos out there. We actually have some mission curriculum on the international.lcms.org that people can go through, or their youth leaders can go through with them, or things like that. Study the Bible.
Yeah, that would be good.
The small catechism. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
So I know you said there's not a lot of like absolute no, but sometimes there is still a not right now.
Right.
So can you how do you tell people not right now? Like if you're talking with someone and you're like, I can tell that this isn't a good fit for international service, or this isn't a good fit for, there's something that makes it clear to you that this isn't going to be a good fit. How do you just, I don't know. I'm assuming you don't just ghost them. Yeah, exactly. Do you have that conversation? Do you give them recommendations?
Yeah.
What do you do with that?
And being relatively new in this role, I haven't had to do it a bunch yet, but there have been times when I've had to say, not now. And here's the reason. Of course, HR is asking me to be very careful about that. Because that is a hiring decision. But I also want people to know like how they can learn and grow. And sometimes in those initial conversations, if that's becoming clear to me, then I might just not encourage them to apply at that time. Or I might say, hey, it seems like you might want to chat with your pastor more about what the small catechism says about baptism or whatever. Things like that.
Yeah.
The other thing is we always encourage people to talk with their pastor and their families, right? So this is not a decision you make in a vacuum. And when I say family, yes, obviously if you have a accompanying family, you need to talk to them, but you also need to talk to the people that are going to stay behind.
Yeah.
God gives us lots of vocations, and being a missionary is a way. An international missionary is a way that you can serve our Lord. But he also gives you other vocations. And if it is currently your responsibility to care for an aging parent, or you have a child with very specific health needs, like maybe this isn't the time. I'm still happy to talk with you about whether it's possible. But so sometimes with those things, kind of in that initial conversation, I'll say, well, it kind of sounds like to me that maybe this isn't the right time. And often people will kind of agree with me, right? So then I'll kind of like, okay, so are you still interested? Like, should I follow up with you in the future? I frequently say we are in the long game, right? So we need missionaries right now, but we also will need missionaries in 10 years.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we are happy to engage in that conversation and then say, okay, well, yeah, maybe in 3 years we'll revisit this. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just have to say, even as you talk about this, and it is a hiring process.
Yeah.
But as you talk about it, you sound so kind. Like that you actually do genuinely care about every single person who puts their hand up and says, I might want to be a missionary. And that you actually want to nurture them through the process, or, help them. Not simply, I don't know. It's wonderful that is the attitude that you have as you come into these conversations.
It is my prayer that anybody that engages in any part of this process would grow through it, right? So prayerful discernment is always a good thing, even if that means they stop talking to me because they've discerned that God is not calling them to be a missionary. Right?
It's still growth.
That is still growth. Exactly. Or if they learn about an opportunity and they're like, I would really like to serve the Lord in that way, but we discover, you haven't been to church in 6 months. But that then encourages them to go back and re-engage with their congregation. Like, yes.
That's a win.
Yes, it is a win for Jesus.
Yeah. Well, and let me tell you guys, I sit on the other side of the cubicle wall from Anne.
She does.
And have for many years. And as I hear her on the phone with people, even if it's their first conversation and they're like, oh yeah, this isn't going to work at all. After all, it was like a cold call. Every time I hear her, she's like, at the end of the conversation, she's like, can I pray for you? And then she does. They're on the phone.
It take me a little bit to get into the rhythm of that and feel comfortable, just like on Zoom, praying with you. And the number of times that people have said amen and then said, that's really what I needed right now. It's a blessing. Like it is a blessing to me to be a part of people's journey of faith.
Yep. And if it is a not now, there's always other opportunities.
Correct.
Like short term or foros, which we haven't talked about on this podcast.
We haven't done that one yet.
I'm assuming we'll get there. Yeah. Yep. So like that's another opportunity. Like there are other ways to be involved in international mission if that is something you really care about.
Exactly.
That doesn't involve like moving your entire life overseas.
Correct.
Because that isn't for everybody.
No.
But there are ways.
There are.
Yeah.
And even if you read a missionary's newsletter every time they send it, and then like every once in a while say, hey, I read this in your newsletter.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Like somebody actually listened to me. No, it's funny because I did a couple times correct myself to say international missionary because sometimes people will write back and say, well, I consider myself a missionary in my neighborhood. Great. Those people need Jesus too.
Yeah.
Right. But the process of sharing the gospel around the world goes forth and it takes time. So we will be likely sending missionaries until the Lord returns.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if you are prayerfully considering this, call Anne, and at the very least, she'll make a new friend and she'll pray for you.
Indeed.
That's right.
It's the worst case scenario.
Well, and the other thing I tell people is you don't have applying is not the commitment. Right.
Yeah.
So if you're I think this is something I want to do, I say go ahead and apply. There is discernment built into the process.
Yeah.
So
an application is just the start of a conversation.
Correct. And there are several off ramps like where we actually intentionally check in and say, do you want to keep going forward in the process?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. This is a well thought out, structured process. And
we've been working hard to make it so.
yeah. And it's been super great having you in studio.
It's been great to be here.
Okay, and one more time, the websites to find stuff.
servenow.lcms.org. You can also find Erin's short-term opportunities there. True. They don't belong to
all
her,
of them.
Yep.
Yeah, all opportunities to serve internationally. But you can also find missionary application at lcms.org/careers.
Perfect. Ladies, we want to know if you are thinking of serving as a missionary or if you do serve as a missionary. I know I've probably asked this a bazillion times, but it's so fun to hear from all of our currently serving or previously serving or short-term missionary ladies in the Facebook group and on Instagram. It's always fun to hear your stories. So drop those comments, tag people you think might be good missionaries. Maybe that's bad practice. I don't know.
They'll be so grateful.
And we'll be happy.
But if you think someone would make a good missionary, you don't have to convince them. Just get them connected.
There you go.
True.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
But enough people say, I think you should be a missionary.
There's power in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how the Lord works a lot of times.
It's true. Yeah.
That's how my husband became a pastor.
That's what I hear.
Yep. I hear lots of those stories. Yeah. So join us in our Facebook group, the Lutheran Ladies Lounge, or on Instagram at Lutheran Ladies Lounge. You can also find all of our podcasts at kfuo.org/Lutheran Ladies Lounge, or on your favorite podcasting app, or on the KFUO radio app. You're listening to the Lutheran Ladies Lounge podcast. I'm Sarah.
I'm Erin.
And I'm Rachel.
Views and opinions expressed on the Lutheran Ladies Lounge podcast may not represent the official position of the management or ownership of KFUO Radio, the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod. The Lutheran Ladies Lounge is produced by KFUO Radio and available at kfuo.org or wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and leave a review for us too. If you love the Lutheran Ladies Lounge podcast, consider financially supporting our producer, KFUO Radio, so we can keep doing what we do. Find out how at kfuo.org/give.